Hello, welcome to An Imperfectly Perfect Life, Life Unscripted. I'm Shari Leid, your host, and today I have a guest. Her name is Justina Chen. She's a graduate of Stanford University. She's an author, a speaker, and a speech writer, and most importantly, a storyteller. Now, my conversation with Justina, very organic. I did not send her questions ahead of time, in part because I didn't know exactly what I was going to ask her. So this is just really an organic conversation between girlfriends. And what we're talking about, which will be of interest to many of you who are out there in the dating world, we're talking about dating. So, just by way of a little backstory here, several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Justina told me a story about how she approached dating. I thought it was so fascinating that I would share her method with my girlfriends or even just random folks when they told me that they were single because I thought, oh man, this has to work. And not to give too much away yet, but I sure didn't think I would end up in a position where I would be one of the users of this method. But I found myself in this position, and man, I don't know. Just stay tuned and listen to our conversation. And again, neither of us would say that we were dating experts. Definitely not. But this has worked for both of us. And we've passed it along to many friends, and it's had the same results. So you be the judge. Okay, here we go. Hey, so we're at season 2, and I have my first guest of the season. I thought this would be perfect because this is the woman who taught me how to date. And I don't even think that she realized that she did this. And it's my friend, Justina Chen. Hi, Justina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. And you have your most recent book. I can see it for those that are not watching our video here. She's an author. Justina's an author. And I see the cover of her most recent book in the background. What is your book called?
It is called With Twice the Love, Desi May. And fun fact for everybody, you were the one who inspired me and gave me the courage to write this book. And so I am so beholden to you.
That is such an honor. And I know it's a book about two adopted girls
Yes.
who are adopted into different families, two Asian girls. And for those that don't know, I have a daughter adopted from China. I'm also adopted. I'm adopted from Korea. And Justina is married to a man who has two daughters who were adopted from China. So this is it's a beautiful book. It's
Thank
like a love
you.
story. And as a adoptee and a mom of an adoptee, personally growing up, I wish I had a book like that. And reading it as a mom, it's such a love story and a gift to my daughter. So thank you for writing this.
Well, thank you for giving me the courage to write the book. It is the book of my heart, and so just so grateful for your presence in my life in so many ways. Because again, what most people don't realize is that you were my matchmaker who introduced me to my husband.
Isn't that something? So Justina and I met briefly at a mutual girlfriend's birthday party, and I'm thinking maybe 30 minutes tops. Where
Tops.
we happened to both. I was with my ex-husband at the time, and there were a few tables outside. Justina joined the table because there was a little bit of room. It was one of those, tall tables, not a lot of room. And we talked for maybe 30 minutes or so. But, there are some people that you remember. And thankfully, because of social media, I was able to connect with Justina after that short conversation. And I gotta tell you, when I found out she was single, I was ready to set her up because I thought, wow, this woman's a catch. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about dating, and the catalyst for this podcast was my divorce, which was finalized just well, actually, by the time this comes out, maybe a week or so ago, but January 2nd, maybe 2 weeks ago by the time this comes out, but fairly recent. And for me, I had been married for 26 years at the time I filed. And I thought, okay, this is going to take about a year. I start doing the math and I'm like, all right, I'm 54. Could be 55 by the time this is over. And I was right. And I thought, well, if you meet somebody, it's going to take a while after that. And by the time I was done with this equation, I was like 105. So I thought, okay, I want to get out there and date. And I figured out how to do this. And I will tell everyone in a moment. But I want Justina, tell me about you're now happily married.
Yes, so happily married. Again, thanks to you because you set me up with my guy. And but I had been single for quite a while, for 8 years after my divorce. And I was finally ready to date.
Okay, what
However,
decade were you when you were single? What decade were you in? 30s,
so I'm
40s?
in my 40s.
Okay.
And so when I was 49, 48, 49, that's when you introduced me. Now, before that, somebody in my health team, he helps take care of me. Um, he looked at me, he said, "You cannot go out into the dating world as you are right now."
Wait,
Like,
who said this?
okay, so he was my chiropractor. Um,
Okay.
okay, and he said, "You need to go out on 100 dates." And I thought to myself, there's no way I can do 100 dates, and that will take me till I'm 110 to finish that. But I thought to myself, what I can do is 20 dates in 21 days. So in 3 weeks, I could do 20 dates, no problem. And so I got on the apps and
And
all
how many years after your divorce did
so that was
this,
about 8 years after the divorce. I
were you
had
dating before then?
I did date before then, but I realized I was dating the same guy as my
Mm,
ex-husband. And I went
yes.
through three kind of short term, well, when you're our age, a 6 month relationship is actually quite long for someone
Hmm.
our age because, at this age, we should know what we
Hmm.
really want. I didn't.
Hmm.
I didn't. And so I think what I did, let's see, let me think about that. 3 years after the divorce, after these dating the same kind of guy, I realized I needed a reset. And so for 4 years after that, I just dated myself. And I
Wow.
really, and I really try to focus on who I was, what I wanted my life to be, what kind of energy I wanted to attract to myself, doing a lot of prayer, and really kind of going deep within. And I know I needed to do that work before I was ready for the right relationship. So that's why I really truly applaud you, Sherry, for taking this year. And you're processing with all of us as you're going through it, but going internal and really figuring out, how do you want to live? How do you want to set up your house? How do you make it a home, right?
Yeah.
What do you envision for yourself? So you really do, that's, creating your own life, but also kind of dating yourself, taking care of yourself, pampering yourself. Um, and so I did that. And then when I was ready, my chiropractor was like, no, you can't just start dating. You need to reset your radar. And he was really right.
Mm,
And so he thought it was kind of ridiculous that I was going to be doing 20 dates in 21 days. He's like, okay, that's a lot. But, I did want to intentionally reset my radar. And the beautiful thing about this program, and they're all first dates, and you don't do a second date until you finish all your first dates, was when it took the scariness of dating away. Because what you realize is how much of it is mutual attraction. And so it's not about you as a person as much as it is you with this other person. Are you right together? Okay. The second is it took the power away from rejection
mm.
because I knew, I wasn't going to I wasn't going to say yes to another second date until I was done with my whole course. Um, and third, it kind of puts the power back to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
And
exactly what you mean.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And then halfway through my, 21st dates, I think my love light must have turned on because I'd be at the airport and this guy would randomly come up to me and ask if he could buy me a drink. And, I mean, right? Or walking across the street and some guy asks if he could take me out to lunch. And so, I really feel like I turned my love light on.
Mm. Oh
Yeah.
man, I can imagine so many people now thinking, okay, 20 days, 21 days.
Yes.
Um, wow. And so you actually shared this story with me years ago. I don't recall how long ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that is such a good idea. I never thought I would take that idea and use it for my benefit. And
Right.
so what happened is I had shared your idea with other people,
Did you?
and
Okay,
yeah, I
good.
did. I thought it was absolutely great. And most of the women I shared it with were actually afraid to do it, to tell you the truth.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
work, right?
It is a lot of work at first, but then you realize people are just interesting. And what it does is it takes down the pressure of finding your one and only. And you're like, oh, I get to meet somebody new today. It completely shifts the mindset. And I think
Mhm.
that's a healthier mindset
I
anyway.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I had come on the cusp of, my travels around the US where I met
Yeah.
with a stranger, a woman I had lost contact with, and I was meeting these women, and this was the year that I did this was the year that I ended up divorced later that year, or what, at least filing for divorce. So I was
Mm.
coming off of this journey where I realized that there were some women that I met that we just clicked immediately. Like we could have been high school friends, growing up on the same block, right?
Yeah.
Versus others, it was fine, but we didn't click in that same way. And so that was one piece where I wondered, okay, what is it that you make somebody automatically click with you versus someone else. I thought, okay, that was interesting. I started to figure this out with women because I was meeting so many new women as
Mhm.
friends, through this journey so close together. I thought, okay, this could be good for dating. Two, your idea was always in my head, and I thought, okay, first dates. So this year, as I go through this year-long process, what I assumed to be a year-long process, and it was of divorce, I
Yeah.
would go on first dates. So my idea at the time when I started this was one date a week, maybe end the year, 52 dates. And I told my publicist this idea. I woke up with this great idea like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and she's in on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. Sent her an email or a text, and by noon, Tinder had offered to give me a free premium membership. I had never been on a dating site before.
Mhm.
So I asked her, well, about this Tinder, is that a hookup site? And she said, no, no, they have everything. People are there looking for long-term relationships, just the whole gamut. Okay. What does it take then for me to get this free premium membership? Because at this point, I think, okay, I'm going to do this incognito. So she said, well, you have to sign up first and then they'll transfer your membership. Well, it was the holidays and it took forever for them to transfer my membership. So as I sit there with my photo on there, my profile, I decide, well, if I'm on Tinder, I might as well sign up for everything. So I went ahead and signed up for everything. And I wrote in my profile that I'm going through a divorce after a long marriage. And I am just going on first dates this year, just first dates, no second dates. If we are both single in 2025, great. We'll have that second date.
Yeah.
And it was surprising how many, when we, like you said, I didn't care so much what I looked like, where we went. I was more open because I was trying to figure out three things. I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out what I like in a man, everything from age to height to, personality, everything, what I like in a man. Two, are there any men out there? Because I heard so many times from my girlfriends that there are no good men out there, which I
Mhm.
can tell you is not true. And
Definitely not
three,
true.
yeah,
Definitely not true. And we need to circle back to that.
okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. And three, well, I guess there are four things. Three, if I'm dateable, because I didn't know, do people want to date a woman that's in her mid 50s?
Hmm.
And my fourth one was how to date, because I did go on a couple of dates beforehand, and like you, dating the same person as my ex. And a girlfriend said, "Be careful because
Mhm.
you're used to this as your norm."
Exactly.
And so I needed that reset. And
Mm.
the interesting thing was, so I ended up going on several dates, more than one a week, and I ended up on 14 first dates.
Good.
Yeah, and and then I would change if you haven't been on a dating site, you can pick kind of your range of people. And so I changed the age around. It actually ended up being a much wider range than I started with. I definitely decided I wanted somebody in their 50s or older, not 40s was too young for me. We were in different life places.
Hmm.
Uh, I originally started with 60-mile radius. Then I realized I don't want to drive. So, luckily we live in a metropolitan area. So that went
Yes.
down to like 30 minutes away at most.
Yes.
But all these guys too, it made me more interesting to them.
Yeah.
They all except for one, which is the guy that I'm with now, asked me out immediately for a second date.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but after I went out on 14 dates and I realized there are so many good guys out there, I don't need to keep doing this. I know exactly what type of guy I'm interested in, and I'm going to spend my time now, if I dating that type of man. And so I was able to stop that after 14 dates.
I think that's incredible. And I will say, I have no fewer than 7 girlfriends who have done this program, and everybody, every single one of them has found their person.
Isn't that amazing? And it is. It's something
Mhm.
with the energy that we put out there. We're open and we're actually interested in getting to know the guy. And we're not sizing them up necessarily, going, okay, is
Right?
he marriage material, or looking for reasons why it won't work, which I think sometimes that's what women or even men traditionally do, actually men and women, when they go out on a date, especially if they have a history, including divorce, then that they don't want to go through again. You start focusing on why this won't work and looking for signs that things won't work. And whatever you focus on becomes greater. So it was
Mhm.
so nice to just focus on the person and get to know them so you can discover yourself.
Exactly. And to enjoy the person,
Yes.
right? Without
Mhm.
having that filter of, oh, are they my one and only and my forever? You just completely get rid of that expectation, which I think really bogs people down, right?
Yeah. And I think there also was trust built because now with all these dating apps, everyone knows that people are dating other people, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more, I wonder if it's more comfortable for the younger generation. That's not the way we used to do it.
No, it's totally not. It was serial dating.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
so the nice thing about doing this, when I met these guys, they knew I was going out with on other dates. I was very upfront, but they also knew I wasn't going around kissing every guy I went out with. And
Exactly.
so there was trust there. If a relationship started, they knew I they knew my dates with every other person was about conversation and getting to know them, and I wasn't out there leading people on.
Exactly. And I agree with you. I too was completely upfront with every single guy. I was just like, you're number 17, you know? And I think it was very fresh for them
Yes.
because it was so honest.
And there's
Mhm.
an attraction to somebody with confidence.
Yes.
And doing this, as you said, for me, it built my confidence
Oh,
because I
completely.
realized, yeah, I realized, okay, hey, people enjoy hanging out with me. Well, not people, men
Right.
enjoy hanging out with me, and really quality guys.
Yes.
And so it built my confidence.
I completely agree with you because our society is so tough on, let's just say it, menopausal women. Okay?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like society just does not know what to do with women of a certain age,
Mhm.
you know? And I remember when I was divorced, it was an unexpected divorce. I was 40 years old, and a so-called friend. I mean, I know she probably had, she was just trying to set my expectations, but she basically said I was undateable because I had two kids and I was 40. And, there were no guys out there, and men were going to want to date younger. Um, I think that was her fear. Now thinking about it, it was her own fear talking, because like you, I found out there are a lot of guys out there.
Mm,
Okay, certainly there are a lot of people, men and women, who have yet to do the prerequisite amount of work on themselves first. Okay. But I think we're all in progress.
yeah.
But there are really great, interesting men who do not want to date the 20 something, who will appreciate a woman our age, because of the life experience that we bring with us. Um, um,
And it's the
uh,
youthfulness. It's also the
yes.
youthfulness. And there's something playful too about dating in this way that does bring out the youthfulness.
Oh, 100%. And that's what I would always
Mhm.
tell all my girlfriends. It's like, you get to be your full self. If you want to flirt that day, flirt there, because nothing should be holding you back. If you're not feeling it, well, you have the power to end the date early. But this is an area where we get to play.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's
Mm.
absolutely wonderful. So I thought, okay, let's start out the year talking about dating and how it can be fun and how to do it without fear.
Exactly. And to do it with a mindset that this is playtime.
Mm.
Because you do get to explore, like, okay, through you, I also dated this great firefighter.
Oh,
I dated a photographer, who was like National Geographic level. I dated a race car driver. Where in my real life, day-to-day life, would I ever encounter people like that? It
mm,
was just so fun to have that conversation, you know? So.
absolutely.
Just putting that out
Absolutely.
there, women.
It is true. I mean, you ended up marrying a lawyer, but
Yes, I did.
for all the women who are looking for the lawyer, doctor, businessman, there are other people out there.
There
Uh,
are. There really
but
are. And actually, what I'd love to tell women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, there is a bumper crop of eligible men because of divorce, because of sad circumstances that leave them as widows, widowers.
yeah,
Um, So it's not as if there's no one to date.
right. Actually, our age group, unfortunately, I wish they called it something else, but they call it the gray divorce. But
Yeah.
this is the uh, highest, the most rapid rising percentages of divorces now are gray divorces. I mean, it's rising
Mhm.
really high, which means a lot of single people out there, a lot of
Yes.
times with kids who are out of the house. So for me, it was
Right.
kind of like dating back, back in when you didn't have to worry about kids. So actually, I think my age of getting into the dating pool was a
Yeah.
lot easier than your age when you got
Yes.
into it.
Right. Because there were children involved, and as you mentioned, yeah, my husband had adopted two girls from China. But I took one look at them, I was just like, they're mine.
Mm,
know? And I think at the book launch, you and I were chatting about that feeling of, I felt like my family was now complete.
hmm
Because I always wanted to have more than two children, and now I have these two bonus girls. It is so wonderful. However, you're right. Dating with children adds a lot of complexity. It is not easy being a step parent. I know you're going to do another session, another show on step parenting, which I completely applaud because I really think that needs to be discussed more. But it is real. And the stakes are very high, I think, when children are involved.
Yeah, man. It's such a fabulous life journey, and I just feel so fortunate that our paths keep on crossing
I
at
know.
these really important parts in our lives.
And your
And
influence on me has been extraordinary. From that one encounter, really, you're right, a 30-minute conversation.
Mhm.
Oh, like, look how much you have impacted my life.
And you paid it back because I am absolutely, I
I,
met the man that my boyfriend was funny. It was hard for me to say boyfriend at first because it's been like decades since I said that. and but my boyfriend, he is the person that I would design. Everything I was missing as far as conversation and personality and character and everything, I have found in this man, and I did it because I was open.
yes.
And, it's like you have to sometimes close the door for another to open up. But yeah, you're right there. You're part of this process too. So hopefully our conversation can inspire someone else to take a leap and just go out there and meet people and challenge
Mhm.
yourself, do something. And people are nice too. When you say I'm doing this challenge, they will help introduce you to someone. They
Oh,
want
yeah.
you to succeed. They want you to
They
succeed.
do. They
Yeah,
do.
what
Once your love light is on, your friends who have been holding back on introducing you to their single friends because they know you're gonna screw it up because you're not ready. Once your love light is on, because you've gone through this process, you really know who you are, you know what you want in your life. I think then people start introducing you to some of the serious ones, you
Yeah,
know,
or even introduce you to people that they aren't sure if they're a match for you or not because you're doing this, you're
because
saying
you're
I'm
doing
going to go on all these first dates. Then they thought,
yes,
okay, well maybe this will be okay. Although
right.
I did have a girlfriend who said, "Well, you want to go out with this guy?" I looked and I said, "How old is he?" Said 31. And I said, "Is his dad single?" So, but I appreciated that she thought that would have been okay. Uh, well, Justina, thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to me about dating and sharing your story. We need to go on a double date. We live in the same area. Let's plan a double date soon.
And it will be in my calendar as soon as you tell me your availability. Okay, but there is one more thing that I
Okay.
kind of wanted to touch on,
Oh,
and I don't
yeah.
want to edit it in. Okay. Okay, so there is a book that I read
Mhm.
30 years ago, and I cannot find this book. Um, but it was so informative about how to find your person. And the writer, again, I wish I remembered who it was. She talked about this notion. There's a Latin term called sin. I, I'm gonna mess it up. So sorry, people who know Latin. Sine qua non, that without which. And so her belief was, in a relationship, there is one condition that must be met. And if it is not there, it's not there. No relation, that relationship will never be successful. And so for you to know what your one thing is, okay, that you must have in a relationship, I think that is all important.
Wow. Oh, that's
Isn't
interesting.
that interesting?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. That's
mhm,
interesting too. I like the way that's the one thing you need as opposed to what's the thing that you can't stand.
mhm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like we said earlier, what you focus on magnifies.
Totally. And if it's something like, oh gosh, I want a guy with a full head of hair, or I want a guy who's super fit. Well, I hate to tell you this, but as all of us know, especially after we hit our fifth decade, life changes in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
Get the diagnosis for cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Our physical appearance will change with time. So, what is it beyond the superficial, the really deep, at the soulful level that you need? Okay. And after being betrayed in my first marriage, I was like, you know what? I thought I really wanted a man with faith. But after dating a couple guys who went to church, etc., I was just like, that's that is so important to me. That is so important. But I also need integrity because you could do a lot. You
Yeah.
know, you know, there are so many things that can adjust within a relationship. Integrity, you either have it or you don't.
Hmm. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Hmm.
Character. Um,
Character is so important. And that's what I try and tell some of my younger friends who are like, well, but he's got to be handsome. He's got to be 6 feet tall. I'm like, you have no idea. You know, my sister's most beloved husband, he passed away during the pandemic. He was 49, rare cancer. The man was 5'4". He treated her like a queen. And
mm,
I tell all my friends, that's what you want,
yeah. Yeah.
right? He had integrity and he loved purely. I
Oh,
mean,
that's so beautiful.
right?
And there are men out there.
There are men out there. And so, I say go on the 21st dates,
Hmm.
surprise yourself with what's actually truly important to you. And I swear by the end of your 21st date, you will know your sine qua non, that without which you will know it.
Well, that is the perfect invitation to our listeners. I would love to know if anyone takes on this challenge and how it works out for them. Please, please let me know. Send me a message. And thanks again, Justina. This has been amazing. And I'm so glad that we had the conversation years ago, which really, really, really helped me through my divorce process. And I'm absolutely in love right now and so happy.
I, well, I am so happy for you. You deserve every single bit of happiness, Sherry.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we'll sign off. Take care, and I'll be back in just a moment. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining this week's episode of An Imperfectly Perfect Life, Life Unscripted. I have all the contact information in the show notes, including my publicist for media inquiries and my speaking agent also for speaking engagements. I also offer a free discovery call for one on one coaching or group coaching, or I will be coming out soon with an online course. So please reach out. There's a booking link in the notes, or check out my website at imperfectlyperfectlife.com. I would love to connect. Have a wonderful week.